Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. If you are a San Diego homeowner gearing up to build a fence anywhere near a retaining wall, you are absolutely in the right place today. We're skipping all the fluff. We're going to focus purely on the practical, step-by-step blueprint you need to pull this off without causing an absolute structural disaster. Honestly, whether you're working with a sloped yard up in Poway or maybe a canyon lot down in La Mesa, getting this right is totally crucial for protecting your property and, let's be real, your wallet. So first things first, the big question, can you just drill right into an existing retaining wall? The short answer is a resounding, hard no. Look, I know it's incredibly tempting to glance at the top of a retaining wall and just assume that wall cap is a solid, empty block of concrete practically begging for a fence post. But making that assumption, it can lead to catastrophic financial and structural stakes. You see, a retaining wall isn't just some property line marker, it is a highly engineered, totally active structure.
So here is our blueprint for today to help you avoid those costly mistakes. First, we'll look at the retaining wall reality. Second, 3 practical fence layouts. Third, defeating the drainage dilemma. Fourth, choosing the right materials. And finally, navigating permits, rules, and neighbors.
Okay, part 1, the retaining wall reality. Don't ignore the hidden infrastructure. Let's dive right in. As I mentioned, a retaining wall is an active structure, and it is literally holding back immense soil pressure. Because of that, it is full of hidden infrastructure. If you or your contractor just start digging holes blindly, you're practically asking for a disaster. You might punch right through a hidden drain line, maybe damage the stabilizing drainage material, hit critical steel reinforcement, or accidentally cover up the wall's weep openings. And here's the rule of thumb. Destroy the drainage and you destroy the wall.
Moving on to part 2. 3 practical fence layouts. Choosing your blueprint.
Now, for homeowners dealing with the incredibly varied terrains across San Diego, whether you've got a tight, graded lot out in El Cajon or maybe a tiered hillside in La Mesa, you generally have 3 safe paths forward. You can go with a setback fence, an anchored fence, or a low wall with an open fence. Which one works best? Well, that really depends on your yard's specific layout, the age of your wall, and of course, your local building rules. Let's break these 3 options down.
First up, the setback fence. Honestly, this is often the least intrusive and safest choice. Why? Because the fence supports are completely independent from the wall. If your fence ever gets damaged and needs repairs down the line, you aren't messing with the wall structure itself. But here is the major catch. You can't just drop a post hole 1 inch behind the wall and call it a day. That retaining wall has a hidden concrete footing that likely extends backward right into that soil, and the main drain line runs exactly through there too. You absolutely must locate that footing and that drain line before you even think about putting a shovel in the dirt.
Option 2 is the anchored fence. Now this is fantastic if you're trying to preserve every inch of your yard space and want a super clean edge. However, this is truly best done when you are building a brand new retaining wall from scratch, so the designer can actually build post sleeves right into the wet concrete. If you're dealing with an existing wall, taking a core drill to it requires a strict professional review. You have got to verify the wall's reinforcement and its capacity to handle the added load of a heavy fence swaying in the wind.
Finally, we have the low wall with an open fence. If you're lucky enough to live on a canyon room yard, and you definitely do not want to block that beautiful view, this is your winner right here. The lower wall does the heavy lifting of holding the soil, and an open metal fence defines the upper edge to keep your pets and kids safe without ruining those sight lines. But quick warning, do not treat this as a shortcut. It still requires proper engineered attachment points, and your local building department will almost certainly evaluate the wall and the upper fence together as one combined structure.
Right, on to part 3, defeating the drainage dilemma, the silent killer.
Listen up, because water buildup is the absolute most critical threat we're talking about today. If water cannot escape from behind that wall, the hydrostatic pressure will literally push the entire structure over. Seriously. So before a single drill bit touches concrete, you need to execute this field checklist. Step 1, physically mark every single visible weep opening on the wall face so absolutely no one covers them up. Step 2, locate the main drain line behind the wall. Step 3, record any existing cracks or loose cap sections so you know the wall's baseline health. And step 4, confirm exactly where your finished grade rainwater runoff path is going. Protect the drainage and you protect the wall. It's that simple.
Part 4. Choosing the right materials. Function over fluff.
Because of the constant dampness and wind exposure near these retaining walls, your aesthetic options are actually a bit limited. Vinyl and aluminum, those are your heavy hitters because they naturally repel moisture, and let's face it, a retaining wall cap is often damp.
Now, if you slap on treated wood directly against it, it's just going to absorb that ground moisture like a giant sponge and rot out right from the bottom. Wood can definitely work, but it requires strict physical separation from the masonry and some very specialized attachment details to keep it dry.
And here is a huge aha moment when it comes to the style of your fence. A solid privacy panel, think a tall, tightly packed wood or vinyl fence, acts exactly like a sail on a boat. When a strong gust of wind hits it, all of that massive structural demand transfers directly down into the retaining wall holding it up. By contrast, an open metal panel allows the wind to just pass right through, placing a much lower demand on the wall below. This means you can't just get a permit to attach a breezy open metal fence and then decide at the last second to swap it out for a solid privacy wall. The physics just do not support it.
All right, part 5. Permits, rules, and neighbors. Navigating the red tape.
So you've got your layout and your materials picked out, but now you have to survive San Diego's infamous bureaucracy. You absolutely must settle these design rules with the city before ordering a single piece of material. You'll need to submit a sketch showing the grades, the heights, the setbacks, and exactly how you plan to attach the fence. Also, this is super important. Verify your contractor's license. The official California fencing contractor classification, the C13, actually excludes masonry walls. Your fence guy might not legally be allowed to touch your retaining wall. So always get an itemized quote that clearly separates the fence work from the wall work.
And then there is this magic number right here, 30. Under California Civil Code Section 841, adjoining landowners are actually presumed to share equal responsibility for reasonable boundary fence costs. But, and it's a big but, to enforce that, you must give your neighbor 30 days written notice before you incur any shared boundary costs.
And no, you can't just slide a casual sticky note under their front door. That written notice has to be formal. It must specifically include a description of the fence problem, your proposed solution, the estimated costs, your proposed cost-sharing approach, and the timeline for the work. If you skip this step or you fail to document it properly, you could very easily end up eating the entire cost of the project yourself, and nobody wants that.
Let's bring this all together. As the source material expertly summarizes, a retaining wall with fence works best when the fence support is planned with the wall. The drainage stays open, and the applicable building department confirms the design rules before work starts. Really let that sink in. That is your golden rule for this entire project. Plan first, respect the structure, protect the drainage.
I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on today. Are you really just building a fence? Or are you accidentally buying yourself a structural failure and a massive boundary dispute? Use this blueprint we talked about today, protect your property, protect your peace of mind, and always plan the wall first. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.